My name is Rachel Raffay. I created this show because I wanted to help you see that if you have a choice, you can choose a better life. If you're listening to this podcast, you're in a pretty fortunate position. You have free will, ability to connect to the internet, and access to all kinds of new education. This podcast is meant to help you make the most of your good fortune. We talk with all kinds of people here from all walks of life because I want you to see that no matter what your situation, there's always a way to create a life that you're proud of. Hello everyone, today we're here with Becca Piastrelli, and you may recognize her name. Becca is the first person that's come on for a second time, and she had an awesome interview the first time we talked with her. We talked about dabbling. She has a brand called The Dab List, and it's one of the most popular podcast episodes so far. And today we're going to be talking about the holidays and how to deal with them. But first, if you hadn't listened to the other episode, I'm just going to quickly read Becca's bio. And as I said, she's the woman behind the Dab List. Her manifesto is to rid the taboo around the term dabbler and instead to infuse it with a sense of alchemy and wonder. Why? Because she knows that when we bring an inquisitive heart to the process of creating with our own two hands, to get our hands dirty, share stories and creations with each other, we remember the ancient wisdom within. We can tap into what our great-great-great-grandmothers once knew, that given the freedom to dabble, we can be the creators of our own joy.
Yes. I like hearing my bio said. It reminds me what I'm doing.
That's awesome. That's really cool. That's a good perspective on it. When I hear mine, I'm like, maybe I should switch it up. It's been the same for a while.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking that too, but I remind myself of like my mission.
Yeah, I love it. I like your bio a lot. It's clear, it's crisp, it's to the point. Yeah, I've been really excited about this interview. And for those of you listening, one of the big reasons I wanted to talk with her is not that she's necessarily like an expert on how to navigate the holidays, but she's just a good friend who has a lot of wisdom in her. And she actually has an interesting backstory around the holidays, which is that up until really recently, she's just been very resentful of the holidays, just a lot of angst around them, and just she's like, so many people, she's saying, have shame around not enjoying the holidays, and so she has a lot to say around that and how to actually get through and start to enjoy them. So we have a lot to talk about. So Becca, do you want to talk a little bit about your story with the holidays?
Yeah, totally. I feel like this holiday season is like my coming out of the closet of like my real feelings about the holidays. Which feels really nice, feels really relieving. So hopefully I can give you guys permission to sort of be real about your relationship with the holidays as well. Growing up, the holidays was magic, right? It was a time when like life literally stopped. Like we got out of school, the adults stopped working, and like there were twinkly lights all around the neighborhood and magical things happened. It was special. There was like a specialness and meaning and intention and presence, frankly, around the holiday season. And so I'm sure everyone listening today has that one like special holiday memory or that tradition or something with their family or their friends or with themselves that really makes the holidays feel special up to this day. And so I actually, in my family, got the name the Christmas Nazi, just like not a PC name, but it was because I was really into Christmas. Like we had to decorate the tree the second Saturday in December, and like Dad had to put the angel on top, but only after I put the teacup ornaments on, and like we had to play this type of music. And like my sweet family put up with me, and I think there's probably a lot around my behavior, like what I was trying to get to as a child. But as the years went on, life changed, and, I got working and supporting myself and family and friends and growing up and all those things. The holidays started to feel like a lot of pressure, like heaviness on me. And I put up a good face and like showed up to all the parties and went shopping and tried to wrap my gifts as beautiful as possible and spend as much money as I could on these wonderful gifts. But like, I was feeling harried and stressed and tired. I mean, the days are darker. Winter is a time when we go within, and yet our outer worlds, like the shopping malls and the parking lots, there's this energy of like rushing and of like trying to be everywhere and do everything around the holidays that is so counterintuitive to what's actually going on in our bodies and in the season. And I was feeling that pull. And as you know, from my last interview with you, Rachel, you know, I'm recovering people-pleasing perfectionist. So around the holidays, I know for me, and I know for a lot of other people, that part of me gets triggered where you've got to be the Norman Rockwell painting. This year, Christmas is going to be extra special. I'm going to get along with the in-laws or whoever it is. I'm going to have the most beautiful presents, and I'm going to outdo everyone this year. Or like, I'm going to go to every holiday party and be there for everyone. And a lot of this enoughness comes up. You know, we end up drinking a little too much champagne at the company holiday party, and there's stories later, you know, or we eat way too many cookies in the break room. Like, this energy, this frustration, this angst around the holidays, like, it's real. I mean, road rage is at an all-time high. Like, people get bristly around each other, and I have been that person, and I am coming out and saying, I've been that person, and I don't want to be that person anymore. So I want to talk about this with everyone I can. Like, what is your relationship to the holidays, and how can we reframe it?
Yeah, you bring up some really good points. I had never thought about the counterintuitiveness of just the hurried frenzy, all the shopping malls, ugh, drive me crazy. And then, but you're right, like when it's winter time, what I naturally want to do is just sit on the couch and knit. So
Yeah.
I totally get it. And so what are some of the things that you're doing to reframe it for yourself?
Yeah, well, right now, actually, we're in the days leading up to Thanksgiving, and I've started something I'm calling the gratitude experiment, which is 10 days of one little task per day that can bring more meaning and impact and joy back into the season, so that by the time the turkey is carved on the table, I and everyone who's joining me for the experiment can be in a mindset of like slowing time down, being present. You know, so many times on Thanksgiving Day, everyone's still talking about Christmas, or like running to the malls to catch the Black Friday sales. Like, I have infused so much intention into like being present from fall's shift to winter, and to like really just being here now and releasing perfection and just enjoying the moment and listening to what my body needs.
I like that. I just finished reading Oprah's book. What's called What I Know for Sure, I think is what it's called. It's a really good book. One of the main takeaways in there is just, and she does it so well, is just be in the moment, be present to whatever's happening. And when you do that, I mean, it's the best way to get out of that overwhelmed loop that's going on in your head. I've got to do this, got to do this, blah, 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 right in front of you. That's such a great point. What are some of the things that you've done in the gratitude experiment so far that are helping people get in this mindset?
Yeah, so we're on day 4, the day we're recording. So day 1, we wrote a gratitude list. So just sit down with a paper to pen, physically writing, not typing, and not stopping until you write down every single thing you're grateful for. And it can go on for a while. That act of writing down everything that comes into your heart and your brain about what it is in your life you are grateful for really drops you into like that abundance mindset of what you do have. So that was day 1. And then day 2, we had to buy a stranger a cup of coffee, which panicked my introverts out there. There were ways they got around it, like giving the barista an extra 5 and saying pay for someone or something like that. But yeah, so we bought a stranger a cup of coffee, which was super exhilarating and like beautiful in that moment. And then yesterday, I taught how to make a really easy body scrub using olive oil, brown sugar, and cinnamon. And then we showed appreciation and love for our bodies. So before getting in the shower, I had everyone make the scrub and then scrub it all over their skin and just tell their body that they're grateful for it, for taking care of them, and they promise to take care of it in the future. And then today, I've got people all over the world giving fresh flowers to strangers.
Oh.
Which is like the best, because who doesn't love fresh flowers? It's sort of like little love bombs going off all around the world, because it creates a conversation, especially because we're a week away from Thanksgiving. So I can feel, like, you can feel energetically, like there's like a rushing, there's like a sort of tightening up at least in my neighborhood, in my town. And I've had people, they're posting on Instagram about how the flowers were the beginning of a beautiful conversation, or I had one person, she just waited in the Target parking lot with a bouquet of flowers, and she saw a woman with a toddler. She came up to her and she gave her the flowers, and she immediately started crying and just said, oh my gosh, like I so needed this. And they ended up going to lunch and having a beautiful lunch, and just talking about how tough it is to raise a child, and how, it's okay to ask for support. Like, this is what the power of giving flowers to a stranger can do.
That's beautiful.
I know.
I was thinking about a couple of things while you were talking. So first of all, the coffee, you were saying the introverts, like it's hard for the introverts. I was thinking, well, no problem for me, because I always do it whenever I'm going through the drive-through.
Oh, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. And then you said the flowers, and I'm like, crap, how does that work? I'm like, well, then you could buy somebody flowers. Like online.
I gave a script in my prompt. I said, you can just tell them, you can read this to them if you want. Just like, I'm doing this experiment, and I just want to give you these flowers. Have a great day. And just walk away, at the very least.
That's awesome. That must feel so good, knowing you're setting that off into motion throughout the world.
Oh, yeah. Talk about healing my relationship with the holidays. Like, this has been incredibly beautiful to watch and to guide, and to also be doing myself. I mean, I felt a shift already.
So I don't know how your relationship is with, let's say, your in-laws, but do you feel like by doing these kind of things, when you get an email that might normally trigger you, that it helps you have a different perspective on it?
Totally. Because I think I'm shifting, there's a few ways I could put it. Like, I could say I'm shifting from head to heart, but it's also like shifting from externally focused to being internally focused, because something I'm still working through in my life is making sure I'm okay first before helping other people, because my tendency is to please, or to secure other people's mess before securing mine. And I've really glorified that my entire life. So what's coming up for me around the holidays is pleasing everyone with the perfect Thanksgiving menu, or, making sure is this what you want for the plans? Because, I can come to you, or whatever it is, or what do you want for Christmas? Let me see, send me a list. And now I feel like if these actually potentially triggering things have been coming through in the last week, and I've just felt really grounded into my experience. And because I felt so grounded into my experience and making sure I'm okay, I can see it positively rippling out to these other people I'm interacting with. I can watch it happen, where I'm just this is what's happening, and I'm all good, and sending a sweet email that is full of love, but also full of this is what I'm doing, and this is what I need. People go, whoa, oh, okay, cool. Flipping the script. We're doing it differently this time.
Yeah. So, okay, I realize it's putting you on a spot, so maybe you don't remember, but just for people who are listening who might be getting those emails, can you tell us a little bit about what one of the emails you got, what the general flow of it was, what they were saying, and how you responded?
Yeah. I got an email from both sides of the family, from my husband's side and my side, both asking what the plan was for Thanksgiving, and then proposing a plan, which is fair. But of course, I went into, oh, they expect this of me, and oh my gosh, and I'm so tired, and I'm doing all these other things, and all I want to do is sleep, and the conversation started going. And so instead of immediately responding, because I'm also recovering from being an immediate email responder, I took the night with my husband Tim, and we talked about how we wanted Thanksgiving to feel this year, what we desired. And we realized we desired to have Thanksgiving just the two of us. And then the next day we'd come by to one side of the family and say hi, and then the day after that, the other side. Whereas before, we had literally ate 2 Thanksgiving meals in one day and never enjoyed it because we were sick. We were so full. And so then we both wrote an email back and said, this is what we desire, and this is the plan. Does that work for you? Because it feels really good for us. And the response we got was great. Cool.
You're probably pretty lucky, huh? I wonder, like, I'm curious how many other families would be able to, but I guess it depends also just the energy that you put into it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could have, I mean, sure. I can see how it could be more challenging with just different dynamics, but I really have learned a lot about particularly the energy and intention you put into email correspondence. Because I used to be like a corporate gal who was like one word, like my tone of type wasn't awesome. And actually, Rachel, you're one of the people I've learned, like your emails are so elegant and thoughtful, and I can like hear and feel you through them. There's another person you and I know, Lindsay, who also has these beautiful emails where I feel held and honored, even if she's telling me like, no, we can't do that. It's just like, I feel okay about it. I feel like oddly wonderful. And so I've really been trying to practice doing that, especially with triggering conversations. I mean, it's easier in email than it is in person, but email is a great starting point where if you feel these familiar triggering feelings coming up with familiar triggering people, to really just take time and intention in your response, it's really powerful.
Yeah, and I guess another thing to just say to this is a lot of times people are afraid to have conversations. They think people are going to respond a certain way. And if you haven't heard, for those of you listening, if you haven't heard my podcast about how to have difficult conversations, that might be helpful for you too, and just being able to speak your needs. Because a lot of times people are pretty reasonable. Like everybody's stressed during the holidays. It's just something that most people don't talk about.
Yeah, because it's shameful to say that you can't keep up with the holiday jolliness. It's so silly.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm thinking about like if I didn't come for Thanksgiving, I'm sure that my mom would like guilt trip me. I'm positive of it. And I'm thinking like how would like how eventually, yes, I might feel bad in the moment, but if I couldn't go, like you just have to take responsibility for your experience, and they can take responsibility for their experience. And so if the decision is to guilt trip or get upset or make stories about why that person isn't coming or not doing whatever you want, then that's their decision.
Sometimes there's disappointment, right? Like the ache of disappointing others. Like I've had to really just get comfortable with that ache in order to like make sure I'm taking care of myself. And I mean, the holidays are like a total test of that ache for a lot of us. It dulls down, and you realize, a lot of it's, whatever's happening for them is happening for them. And if you can set the tone with both of them by saying, I'm honoring myself, maybe they'll think about how they can honor themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, there's just ways that you can do it elegantly. So I'm honoring myself. I hear this is where you're coming from. And, perhaps we can work out something that works for both of us around whatever, if you feel like you need to, like close family or something. And I guess I just say that because I recently had an experience with a friend and it just felt like super boundary making. And that didn't feel necessarily good either because it was, I don't know, I don't want it to make it like two rules and regulations or something around a relationship, but I think that there's definitely an elegant mix of both.
Sure. Yeah, sure. And it's different with every person. And I know it can be hard sometimes with family, especially with like the whole idea around traditions.
Yes.
And if you desire to like break tradition. But I really want everyone listening to think about how these make you feel. Because I remember last year, it was like 2 weeks before Christmas, and all I wanted was for it to be January 1st. Like, I wanted time to pass. I wanted to numb out, and I wanted time to just pass. And, like, that is a huge signal that, you're not present and enjoying your life during a time that is meant. I mean, it's solstice, it's dark, it's light in the dark. It's time to come together and to nourish yourself. It just became so abundantly clear to me when I just wanted to forget about the next 3 weeks.
So to switch gears a little bit, because I think you've just given such awesome thoughts around this, when people go to these holiday gatherings, and I don't know if you have an answer for this, but I'm curious, do you have any tips around how to not overeat during the holidays?
I don't know if I have great tips, but I'd love to talk about it. My thing was drinking too much at holiday parties. I mean, I guess sometimes it was numbing out, but it was more like, it's a celebration and this is the one time I can go all out kind of a feeling. And actually then I would drink too much and then I would eat too much because I was drunk. And so I've been working on this all year around parties and celebration and creating new feelings of celebration that aren't drinking or eating related for myself. like not seeing them as rewards. I've become really good at making mocktails. So like I was at a party the other day and I just had like a soda water with some like pomegranate juice, a lime wedge, and a mint leaf, and like happily sipped on that. So that's one way to do it. And the other way to do it is to drink a glass of water between every cocktail and to just be here now and remember that you want to feel nourished and happy in your body.
Absolutely. Those are great tips.
Yeah, I'm still working on it though. We'll see. There's the holiday party I go to every year, and the next day I'm always hungover. I am always wishing I wasn't. And so this year I've been mentally preparing myself for this party and like trying to sort of switch around my behaviors around celebrating and around coming together with friends I love. And how am I going to approach this where the general expectation is like, we drink really delicious, lovely wine till very late in the night, and how I can still enjoy and be present and not do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's also really powerful, is just anticipating any problems in advance. And this can be around overeating, this can be around, your aunt's questions that drive you crazy, whatever it is. Just anticipating in advance so that this way it's not, if someone is like super anxious about all the things that could go wrong, just figuring them out in advance and figuring out how to handle them lets you go in with a lot more ease than just overwhelm, and like the unknown is really scary.
I love that. Yeah, like don't go in dreading something that you don't have like a plan to deal with.
Yeah.
That is good. I'll remember that.
And so the other thing I'd love to talk with you about, I know you have such a spectacular product coming up, and why I love it is because it frees people up from having to spend tons of money on these products, and it makes them feel good. So yeah, tell me a little bit about like the presence that you're creating, and then what you've created for other people to learn to do that too.
Yeah, taking it one step further, I realized last year that I wasn't really enjoying the holidays, and a lot of that was around the enoughness, the not enoughness I was feeling, particularly with gifts. I've noticed myself in the past judge people's spending, like they didn't spend enough or they spent too much. And really that was just like a mirroring of like my angst around what I was spending and what I was getting people as gifts. Did you get the most impressive new electronic thing? Or like, I've gotten gifts from like my mom. Like she loves getting me cat things. And I remember being such a spoiled brat and just being like, that wasn't on my list. When I really couldn't see the love and like intention she put into getting me these like adorable, hilarious cat socks. That was an expression of her love. I felt like the whole experience of gift giving was so noisy for me. It sort of took me out of the experience of, basically showing gratitude for people in your lives by giving them something. About several years back, I was a business student and I had a low budget, and I decided I was going to make gifts that year. And the first thing I made was, this is so funny, Tim and I infused vodka with Skittles.
Ooh.
And like you get Skittles and you take the different colors out, and we got like little bottles of vodka and each had like different colors, and we gave that to Tim's brother and he loved it. And I also infused some olive oil with like rosemary and garlic and lemon, and people went bananas for these gifts. And to me it was like, oh well, it was so cheap. Like I had only put value on the amount of money I spent for my gifts. And a lot of people do that, like, oh, they show shame if like they don't have a high budget that year because cash is tight or whatever. And it's just like, that is not the point. That's not the point. And I realized that when I gave these handmade gifts and people loved them. They really loved them and they were impressed. They were inspired. They wanted to know how to make it. When they ran out, they wanted to pay me to make more. And I was just like halfway like telling them how to make it. And that really sparked something in me, so that a few years later, when I had a much bigger budget for the holidays, I was still making these gifts. It's gone way beyond Skittle-infused vodka, although that still is a big hit. It's gone to so much more where it's like artisan crafting. I'm doing it home, and people are really enjoying it. I've created something that teaches anyone else who wants to know how to do this, and it's called a handmade holiday. It's so much more than like having a holiday on a budget, although this certainly could help that. It's about infusing love and meaning back into the holidays, back into what it means to give a gift to someone when it's created with your two hands and your heart and your time. I mean, time is so valuable. It's like, it speaks so much more than a cheap piece of crap you got at the dollar bin at Target because you needed stocking stuffers. Like, let me show you how to make like herb infused sea salt. It takes 5 minutes. You can buy a beautiful glass bottle at like the local Goodwill or on Amazon, and it will look gorgeous and people will love it and they will use it. And it means so much more than, just grabbing something quickly at the dollar store.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love about it is it does, when you're making your own gifts, it makes you slow down. And as you're creating them, you think about the people that you're giving them to. And I think it just naturally infuses more gratitude and more happiness around the holiday season. And just anytime you get to do something with your hands and you create things, you feel proud, like personal progress. It's fun.
And people really, they are impressed. Their eyes light up. It's not your average gift when you make something. It engages a conversation about how did you make it? Maybe they want to learn. And then you don't have to be, I hate this phrase, but you don't have to be Martha Stewart. There's only one Martha Stewart in this world, and it's Martha Stewart. We're all creative beings, and like, it doesn't need to take a lot of time and energy to do these things. Like, you don't need to be super crafty, but it's a beautiful experience that will nourish you. It gets you off the computer, out of the malls. You're working with your hands, and people just really love it.
So for those of you listening, I got to see 2 of Becca's videos that are coming in a handmade holiday, and I was so freaking excited. Even as I'm thinking about it now, I'm going to my mom's for Thanksgiving in the Philly area, and I'm thinking I want to either go and get some ingredients beforehand or go with her and go shopping and just make them because we're doing Christmas at Dawn's place. I just want them to have it. Like, I just think that stuff's so fun. The infused vodka and whiskey video that you did, just like, oh, that'd be so much fun. It looks so good.
It's also, I've shown a few people some sneak peeks, and a lot of them have said they can't wait to have like a girls' night or like fun with their friends making these things together. And I thought that's like an awesome idea, like these make parties where you can like put on the Christmas tunes and, make some mulled wine or hot toddies and just like have a cozy creative day together.
I mean, I think it's also like a really fun thing for parents to do with their kids, and it really sets such an awesome tradition around we can make these gifts and not have to spend tons of money. I mean, I can see traditions being made around that.
Oh, totally. I've shared tutorials, so we've mentioned alcohol and then you mentioned kids. So I just wanted to say it's gifts for like every person in your life. It's the men in your life, the coffee drinkers, the boozy people, the natural beauty person, the one who wants to feel like she's going to a spa, like to your mom, to grandma, to your child. There's all these different types of gifts so that you can really give to all the people in your life.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I was thinking of the potpourri when I said that.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. This is, I know you have a Thanksgiving special for it where it'll be discounted, and then after that, is it going to be, I guess people can buy it through Christmas?
So it goes on sale the day before Thanksgiving, a Thanksgiving sale price of $97, and that will end at midnight on Cyber Monday or Monday. I think that's the first. Then it goes up to $147, and I'm going to close the cart on the night of December 18th, because I'm going to make sure I am fully present for my Christmas with my loved ones. And at that point, a lot of the stuff you need to make ahead of time. So after the 18th, you're cutting it a little close. So through the 18th.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much. Like, I think we just covered so much great ground, from being present and just how to deal with people in your life and just giving people permission to not have shame around the holidays, and great tactics for not over drinking and preparing yourself in advance, and just this idea of creating homemade gifts I just love so much. So we really covered a lot of ground, and I think that this has given people some really good solid tips on how to handle the holidays. Thanks again, and everyone, hope you have a phenomenal, fantastic, fun, nourishing, present Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much for listening to A Better Life. You can find all show notes for this episode at rachelrofay.com. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe so you can automatically get access to all new shows. Let's also connect. Just go onto Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram /RachelRofay, and we can talk there. The opinions of all guests here are their own, and I'm not necessarily endorsing any of them. I do want to give you perspective, though. And always remember,